Didn't think that I had to use this background instrumental again, especially this soon, but yet here we are. So originally for this video, I was going to dive a bit into the pieces of evidence that has shown MrBeast's day one friend and longtime associate of the channel, Ava Kris Tyson, essentially have inappropriate talks with a minor, and also show some previous connections to the controversial artist Shadman. But YouTube has apparently been age restricting videos out there that are covering the situation to the T with all the evidence pieces and everything. So for this video, which is briefly reference the accusations, as I'm sure many of you already know what's going on in regards to the details, and then also go over the aftermath of everything that had gone down. But before we get into that, I think it's important to see just how everything came about, because although everything has been popping off near the end of July recently, most of the info that is being referenced to actually came out in the month beforehand, in June. On June 13th, two videos came out from two different YouTube channels that each looked at an aspect of Chris's controversial ways of navigating the internet back in the day. These two videos actually corroborated with each other in being released at around the same time. The video on the left here came from the YouTube channel Reyes, where this one looked at Chris's interest in inappropriate drawings, more specifically that from the, as said, controversial artist Shadman, who was infamously known for drawing underage characters and real life people in the ways that it would have the FBI come knocking on your door. The other video coming from Prison 42, this one was the one that delved into the inappropriate interactions between Chris and a boy known as Lava GS that Chris had befriended about 7 years ago when Lava was around 13 years old. Prison 42's video here had receipts and everything of their public social media interactions with each other, and had even discussed of when they had also met up in real life. So, with these videos being released in June, why did it take over a month for everything to be seen by the general public? Well, that's because the videos didn't catch on to the algorithm, so most of the info here provided in these videos was just low-key up to that point, as they had only received about a handful of thousands of views at that time. But later on in the following month in July, another YouTuber known as Adrox picked up on Reyes' findings from the month before by watching his video, and Adrox went on to cover it on his channel, and that upload of his managed to catch on to the algorithm. This is where then another YouTuber named Brion came into the mix, where he saw Adrox's upload, also made a video on the situation, and that one also caught on in the algorithm. At this point, the only viral videos that had caught people's attention were of these right here that had spoke on the Shadman situation and Chris's interest in inappropriate drawings. The story of the 13-year-old from Prison 42 was still on the wraps for the most part, up until Brion went on to see it and then made a video covering that. The momentum that had been gathering against Kris Tyson will be shown full force as this new upload covering Prison 42's 13-year-old story also went on to go viral, but now instead of it just being kept in the YouTube sphere, it was being talked amongst the whole internet across all social medias, most predominantly X. Amongst the first to react to the accusations was the trans community itself, where they were denouncing Chris's actions, and it was only a matter of time until some creators came out and spoke about the subject. One of the first to do this was the streamer NickMercs, who in the months beforehand had actually been beefing with Chris online after they had a back and forth on X regarding the whole Dr. Disrespect situation at the time. NickMercs, with a screenshot of somebody else's post talking about Chris's inappropriate communication with the teenage boy, reacted to it by saying, "Wow, who would have thought?" and then also spoke on it in a stream where he didn't just go on to speak on Chris/Ava, but also called out her ex-wife that had defended her during the interaction and MrBeast.
This guy Beast came out and said Ava is a great father. There's a concern here, and if there isn't for you, then you are part of the problem. This dude Chris's girl came out and defended him. Apparently she was tweeting like, I don't know who this NickMercs guy is and what he's saying about our relationship and our family. I'm not really trying to like drag you through the dirt, but if you want to go toe to toe, you want to say things like that, let's circle back and let's revisit those comments about how great your family is. Surely the landscape is a little different now, huh?
So with this attitude, this was mostly the reactions from, I guess you could say, this side of the content creation space, and the coverage of it was only getting bigger and bigger. But what one would have probably not expected was that Jake the Viking, a former member of the MrBeast crew several years ago, will come out and also speak on the situation. Well, I say that, but both Jake and Ava did actually go at each other in the month of June beforehand during the whole NickMercs drama, but that's besides the point right now. Jake came out and put out a post onto his X account reacting to the whole current situation, saying that Chris wanted to talk all that smack and now look, just a bum. But Jake wouldn't just necessarily be attacking Ava here. He would then also put out this post talking about the victim, saying that he knows about the Lava GS person that they are mentioning in the videos and that it actually wasn't looking good for Beast, obviously referring to MrBeast himself. Jake then followed up later on with two simple words that would bring in a mass amount of attention, saying that Jimmy knew. During this time, Keemstar, who was well versed with many creators in the space, including MrBeast himself, was looking looking into the situation and had then put out a post saying that MrBeast had connected him directly to Lava, the alleged groom victim himself, and the Lava had said that he was not groomed by Kris, furthermore releasing a couple of more statements to Keem saying, "I did not meet Kris Tyson by myself. I met Kris and the MrBeast crew with my family present. I ran a Discord with Kris Tyson when I was 13, and edgy, inappropriate jokes were said. That's it." Now, before we get further into it, Keemstar also has some stick in the game, as several years ago, his daughter of 7 to 8 years old at the time was a victim of some of Shadman's drawings, and Keemstar, rightfully so, was and is furious with the artist Shadman himself, and that Kris was friends with him. Keemstar even then here reveals to us that him and Kris Tyson had a conversation about it in the month prior, and as we're soon to find out, Kris did not apologize to Keem for the association with Shadman. But going back to Keem's post that had Lava's initial statements, Jake the Viking reacted to that by quoting the last line of where it had said that edgy and inappropriate jokes were being made with the 13-year-old, and bluntly stated that sending sexual jokes to a 13-year-old is not okay, never has been, never will be. GG's to Lava for confirming the allegations. Now, this is where we bring in Lava, the as said alleged groom victim of Ava Kris Tyson. While many were quick to be on the offensive against Ava for her connection to Lava, Lava here will go on the contrary and put out this screenshot here of a couple of YouTube videos that were talking about Ava, and said that Ava never did anything wrong and just made a few edgy jokes, and that he was never exploited or taken advantage of. Finishing that off, also saying that he was not a victim of anything being claimed in these videos, or at all. A quick note on this though is that these two videos in the screenshot had only talked about Kris and her previous connections to Shadman and her interest in inappropriate drawings. They did not cover Lava or his situation at all, and Lava will clear that up in a future post, bringing up the actual correct videos that talked about him and still proclaimed Ava's supposed innocence in this. But during the early stages of reactions to everything going down, Lava would adamantly claim that Kris did nothing wrong and that people were just making him look like a victim. A narrative started coming out saying that he was getting paid to defend Ava and the claims being made against her, but when someone asked Lava how much he was getting paid if that was so, Lava shut down that narrative and said zero. Literally nothing happened. Lava continued to respond to everything, stating that Kris didn't send him sexual messages, that when the real life meeting took place, his family was present, and made it clear that quote quote Kris literally did nothing wrong, and he has stuck with the narrative that Ava is innocent in the consistent fashion that he had told Keemstar in his statements. And roping back to Keemstar, he brought up a point that many people were starting to take note of, that there was a lack of reactions from many content creators in the space, more specifically those that spoke up against Dr. Disrespect in the month prior. Many of them had not said anything about the current Kris Tyson situation. Keemstar here says, streamers who talked about Dr. Disrespect aren't talking about Kris Tyson. What's the difference? And Keemstar wouldn't be the only one that was bringing this up. Banks here also said it's crazy to see how quiet the timeline is about this, considering how loud everyone was regarding Dr. Disrespect. And Jake the Viking, of course, also brought this up and saying that the silence is deafening, and that this is why all your favorite influencers are fake and have no backbone. Doc gets accused with talking inappropriately to a minor with no evidence, and everyone attacks him and runs his name through the mud. He loses sponsors, partners, everything before a drop of proof is presented. Kris has actual proof, screenshots, recordings of both audio and video, a confession from a victim, and everyone who jumped Doc is silent. Where's the energy? Where's the uproar? Everyone who hasn't said a word should be ashamed. You're soft and pathetic. Grow a pair. Now, in reference to all of this, a number of people were pointing out several creators that hadn't said anything yet that had recently taken a part in the newest MrBeast video. While several of them were getting called out, 4 content creators in specific here were getting the most heat out of the situation: Valkyrae, Hassan Piker, Pokimane, and Critical. Hassan, when asked about it in his chat, did have somewhat of a reasonable take, at least in his case, as to why he, a political commentator, hadn't said anything, as the US political landscape is at a high point right now during this election season.
As Hassan talked about MrBeast Kris, think about this. This is no different than the Cody Coach, where people were just like, hey, I know that the current sitting president dropped out of the re-election campaign in the most historic thing that has happened in this election cycle, in a sea of historic things that have happened so far. Has Hassan talked about MrBeast Kris as a political commentator? Do you think that right now I'm gonna be talking about YouTubers?
Now, for Valkyrae, Pokimane, and Critical, we'll get to them in a bit, because first we also had the banned YouTuber Sneeko call out the general space of content creators for staying silent so far.
Hey Chris, I heard you like them young.
Oh, that's not the clip. It's this one.
The #1 hypocrisy that I'm seeing is all the mainstream bot Twitch streamers, these female streamers who get, I don't even need to say their names. You see, the same people who called out Dr. Disrespect are silent around Kris from MrBeast, even with mountains of evidence because they don't want to lose opportunities.
And then with that, we also had Aiden Ross come back to streaming after about a 2-month hiatus and was quick to give Sneako props and also call out the industry himself.
First things first, Sneako was right. Second of all, bro, I do want to say one thing that's insane. Why are all these creators so scared to talk about Kris Tyson, but they were so easy to talk about Dr. Disrespect? That's why I really with XQC. X made a tweet, and X is not with the bullshit either.
And that'll transition us into what the streamer XCC had also said about the whole situation, more specifically in the silence that was currently going on. What Aiden was referring to in the clip was this post here by XQC, where he has said, "I follow mostly influential creators here, yet most have been silent about the Kris Tyson situation. Pretty deviant behavior across the board. Weirdo. Can't wait to read some of the coach justifications on why it wasn't addressed. By the way, next time I'm adding the whole squad. Stop hiding behind the noise." At this point in XQC's replies, a good portion of them were calling out both Pokimane and Valkyrae, and the interesting thing here is that when you look at XCC's replies on this post, the ones that are adding Pokimane, they weren't linking to her page. According to what Slushy said over here, it seems like she had her team do that for her, and when you check out the replies to this day, it is still like that. But soon after XCC had put out the call out post, both Pokimane and Valkyrae actually came out and put out their statements in regards to the Ava Kris Tyson situation. Pokimane said, "I don't know all the details regarding the Ava situation, but I want to make it clear, any inappropriate behavior towards minors is unacceptable regardless of who you are. It's a shame that people will see this as an opportunity to attack the trans community as a whole. One person's actions does not reflect on every single trans person, so please don't view it that way." And then she defended her way about going this situation compared to Dr. Disrespect by saying, "Dr. Disrespect made a statement himself with the details. Ava has yet to do so, and I've only watched one video. Respectfully, a 10-minute commentary video is not the most accurate news source, so I'm being honest in case more information comes out." Valkyrae, with her post, she said, "I'm still in the process of moving, so I haven't been able to fully keep up, but in the meantime, I've been tagged a bunch. Pedophiles equals bad. Trans does not equal pedo. The actions of one trans person does not mean all. Sucks to see so many anti-trans people act as if it does. I'm hoping Ava speaks up. Dr. D is still gross." Lastly, to the incels that only tagged Pokeknight to speak up, even though everybody did after D did himself, you're weird. Focus your hate towards the pedos for once. So, with those responses coming out, XCC's callouts seem to have worked, as he then put out this post here saying, "LOL," along with a gif of this guy saying, "If I speak, I am in big trouble. In big trouble. And I don't want to be in big trouble." And for the last person that was majorly getting called out, Critical, well, he actually talked about the situation as it was popping off. During his night stream on July 22nd, he briefly talked about the topic at hand, saying that things weren't looking good for Ava, and that even though the victim Lava was defending her, it could have easily just been a case of him still being blinded to the fact that he may have been getting groomed, as the messages that Kris was having with them were unacceptable. But with Critical briefly touching on the subject on his stream, on the day that everything was blowing up, Charlie made the decision to cut up clips from that stream talking about the situation and uploaded it to his second channel, where him speaking on the topic was cut up to a 4-minute video. Sneako saw that second channel approach and went on to call out Critical on his stream for it.
Moist Critical is not going to go talk about the Kris situation because he wants to have the MrBeast collab. Bro, you're going to talk about every other trending situation, Dr. Disrespect, Sneako, anything that goes viral, it goes on your main channel. Kris, the associate of the biggest YouTube channel in the world, you do a 4-minute clip on your second channel. Stop coping and be a journalist if you're going to be a journalist, or just say that you want to have the collab.
Critical, after seeing that clip, made a post onto his X account reacting to it saying, "I wish people would actually bother checking if I talked about something. I talked about it last night on stream while it was all unfolding and posted a short edit from the discussion so even brain-rotted idiots can watch the full thing and see how horrible it is. I will also be making a full video on it as well, which I said too." And that's exactly what Critical went on to do. He uploaded a 22-minute long video onto his main channel denouncing Ava's actions from the past and further explained his reasoning as to why he hadn't made a video on the situation yet in comparison to his Dr. Disrespect takes from the previous month.
I've been being attacked on Twitter, just fucking dogpiled, about my ignoring the situation and refusing to speak on it. People saying like, where was the same energy that you had for Dr. Disrespect here? And I talked about it on stream last night. The ones that did wrote it off as, oh, he's only gonna put this on his second channel because he's afraid to put it on his main channel. Check my Dr. Disrespect video. I posted it on June 22nd. The allegation against Dr. Disrespect was on June 21st. In this situation, it is the exact same timeline. I was talking about it as everything was unfolding. I even had a video go up on the second channel going over everything that was coming out, and now I'm making the full video about it 24 hours later. It's the exact same speed and same energy as the Dr. Disrespect situation. And the main person who started this lightning rod of accusations about me ducking it and refusing to address it is Sneeko of all people.
Then about the second half of the video is Critical pretty much just criticizing Sneeko, and then the two of them went on to have a debate about various topics on Sneeko's stream, and Charlie had said something in there that had a lot of the internet going after him. But that's something that we'll just leave at that here because this video isn't about them, but it was something interesting to note throughout this whole ordeal. But with the community now speaking out on the Ava Kris Tyson situation, it was only a matter of time until she came out and addressed everything. On July 23rd, Ava put out a series of posts onto her X account, with the first one saying, "I would like to apologize for any of my past behavior or comments if it hurt or offended anyone. It was not my intent. Seeing recent events, we've mutually decided it's best I permanently step away from all things MrBeast and social media to focus on my family and mental health." Now, this post here is important as, first off, this was one of those responses where the person that's getting heat from the internet just basically says, "I'm sorry that you got offended," with this first initial line here. And this post also reveals to us that both Ava and the party of MrBeast mutually parted ways. Keep that in mind as we'll get back to that later. But Ava also says, "I want to add, I never groomed anyone. The person who gets brought up in these accusations, Lava GS, has vocally supported that they are false. Having said that, I humbly apologize to anyone I have hurt with my unacceptable social media posts, past actions, and to those who may feel betrayed by how I used to act online. To lump these two factors together to create a narrative that my behavior extended beyond bad, edgy jokes is disgusting and did not happen. In past years, I have learned that my old humor is not acceptable. I cannot change who I was, but I can continue to work on myself. I don't want these accusations to impact the hundreds of people who work at MrBeast, which is why I have stepped away." Again, keep this claim of her saying that she stepped away in mind. So as the responses come out, basically nobody is on board with Ava, as she did admit to doing some pretty bad things in the past. Bakare here, when Ava's initial post went up, she said, "I was hoping for a more detailed response, but glad Ava's overall stepping away from MrBeast team. Disappointing and disgusting." Keemstar, not letting Ava get off the hook so easily, said, "You didn't apologize to me a month ago in private when I brought up your behavior supporting the cartoon CP artist that drew my 8-year-old daughter in a sexual way. What changed?" And Jake, in response to Ava addressing her whole entire situation, criticized Ava's line talking about the offended people, saying, "Hurt or offended anyone? Oh brother, no accountability, none," and responded to her initial post saying, "Pathetic." And yeah, people reacted to it on video and live expressed the same thing, like coming back to Critical here saying this.
That is kind of a textbook non-apology. It doesn't address anything, it doesn't talk about anything, it's just like this blanket boilerplate statement about stepping away. I just don't think you can write off a lot of those social media posts as edgy jokes or edgy humor.
And from the top YouTube commentator speaking on Kris after the whole response, we then also had the top Twitch streamer Kai Cenat react to the whole situation at the top of his stream.
Bro, he's weird, bro. Weirdo. Yes, Kris from MrBeast, bro. It's fucked up. It's weird. I'm like, bro, what the fuck, bro? Like, what is going on, bro? How do you know the age of someone knowing that you're a grown-ass man and still move forward, bro? I don't understand it.
Well, that didn't age well, but let's keep the video moving. From Ava's apology, we then saw Lava, the alleged victim, still managed to come out to Ava's defense in the midst of her post response here and said, "I'm sorry that people are making up lies with my name in them. I hope everyone sees the truth soon. You never did anything wrong to me. Nothing inappropriate happened between us." But after Ava's response, and with everyone continuing to react to it online, Keemstar put out a post saying that the Kris Tyson story was not over yet because she had left MrBeast. The story had just started and that there are plenty of more nukes on the way. There are multiple more stories behind the scenes, and that was indeed the case. Up to this point, there had already been more accusations, allegations, and just pretty much degenerative stuff that was done by Kris from back in the day coming back into the public eye, like when John Alert uncovered this video of Kris linking the leaked revenge pics of Jenna McCurdy to an audience. Jake, in the midst of everything starting to come out against Kris, had also said in an X post, "While we're at it, Kris should tell everyone how old the girl was that he was snapping that sent him his first ever pair of Gucci slides." Nothing came out of this as far as I know. There was then another person that came out and showed a parent Snapchat text coming in from Kris that he alleged came in when he was 14 and Kris was 22. Jake reacted to these new accusations here by saying, "But wait, there's more," and showing that to his ex audience. And then in addition to those, Clip Up here had compiled 2 more posts regarding Kris's inappropriate interactions online. On this left one here, it was anonymous screen recordings of some apparent DMs that Kris was having with someone who had alleged that they had just turned 14 at around that time, having some super friendly conversations that would at the very least have some questionable heads be turning. On the right one here, these were just some wild Reddit messages that talked about lollipops and grapes. I'm sure you could use some context clues to figure out what I mean there. And then Kris was also seen talking about teen love of 14-year-olds. All of this, again, all being alleged. Then on July 26th, a thread of Discord messages had come out from Kris's server that, I mean, it just had them looking bad, as again, more degenerative stuff was being said in there, with evidently numerous minors being all up in there. And this showing of the Discord messages was so bad that now even Lava was coming out and speaking against it here here by saying, "This was 5 or 6 years ago and I thought I had a good memory of the situation, but I was wrong. After reading the chat logs, this stuff was inappropriate and wrong." He then later here continued to proclaim Ava's innocence in the grooming accusations, saying, "I still believe I am not a grooming victim." But things were about to get worse for Ava, as another victim came up in Nathan W here, saying that Ava Kris Tyson had preyed upon him when he was 15.
Kris Tyson from MrBeast used me, manipulated me, and did very inappropriate things with me while I was about 15 years old. I was actually friends with Lava GS at the time, who is the main victim of Kris that everyone has been talking about these last few days, who claims he isn't a victim, but we all know he is, and we all know he probably got paid off. Not only that, but he's also under an NDA from when he worked for MrBeast Gaming for 2 years, and he tried to get me to join MrBeast Gaming himself. He's the one who actually sent me the contract and tried to get me to sign the NDA, at which point I ended our friendship because I knew they were just trying to silence me.
He would go on to talk about how Kris had taken advantage of him and others, and it also spoke on the inappropriate interactions that took place in that Discord. Nathan then uploads another video just showing some more proof, and with some people doubting if this guy was being legit, John Miller went on to confirm that Nathan was a part of Kris Tyson's Discord, and that they did indeed interact a lot. Now, a little bit of beef sparked up with Lava calling out Nathan here, trying to discredit him in some of the statements that Nathan had made, but with that, Nathan will continue to pursue exposing Ava, as he then went on to make a website where 500,000 Discord messages were set to be released on it. The messages get released and there's many threads out there that took a look at them. It will probably take hours to go over it and just talking about them, but some of the highlights in there were that Kris was still being weird up in them and that MrBeast had a small bit of participation in there, allegedly. And then there was this whole other arc that the NSFW channel was going to be released, but then it didn't at the last second. But from that, the Discord links that were up already were then taken offline with no notice or anything. They were just gone. And with everything going on, Kris Tyson's sister had then apparently came out and spoke against Kris, saying, "I'm his sibling. He, and yes, I used the correct pronoun, told me that he got fully aroused when he secretly stole my female clothes and put them on. He's deluded and disturbed, and it's 100% a fetish. He's narcissistic, and professionals have told him that he needs a full psychological evaluation." And it then gets worse for Kris from there. We then, just most recently, had this ex user known as Muskina, also known as Jess, say that she was said by Ava Tyson when they had gone together in real life after they had met online as adults. It's a whole thread of Jess's experience and what she had went through with Ava. Basically, Jess's role that ended up happening here was to have a job as an assistant of Ava's, but a good amount of the times when they had met up, it tended to go the intercourse route, and throughout their whole on-off-ish relationship, Jess would say that she was essentially mistreated in an emotional manner and just other stuff of that regards. While that's one side of the story, Ava has yet to speak or react to the experiences that were documented, or to any of the situations for that matter that I had just mentioned in the past couple of minutes. And again, a lot of the accusations and allegations that were mentioned in this part of the video are all alleged with pieces of evidence shown. For MrBeast though, let's move on to how most of the stuff has impacted him, with first, during Verdius's original video covering Kris's connection to Shadman, it was shown to us in there that one of the posters that had a drawing from Shadman of a very young looking girl, that poster was placed inside the home that both MrBeast and Kris had occupied back in 2017, and this was seen in the MrBeast video tipping pizza delivery guys $10,000. But when you go to it now, that part of the video has been removed. There was also a tweet which has it seemed like that Jimmy also knew about Shadman himself, and then there's another post of a clip of Jimmy talking to the camera in a place by himself where the poster is still behind him. And also, I want to add that I censor this not just because of the contents of the drawing, but also it apparently seems like that MrBeast and his team are actively taking down content that is showing of evidence regarding him and Ava, and not just probably cases like the recent ones, but also in others of when both Jimmy and Kris were joking about the Apache helicopter gender things. But moving away from that now, when the story of Ava's interactions with the 13-year-old Lava was starting to blow up, one of the people that had initially come out and spoke on the whole thing was Andrew Tate. In the next post, he cryptically said, "The beast has your children," and then later on went on to post this video where he didn't go after Ava that much really. Instead, he went after MrBeast, more specifically his name.
You know what's most amazing to me about this whole scenario? That nobody seems to point out this guy's name, MrBeast. Do you think that's a bit of a strange name? Why would the largest YouTube channel with an affinity towards children in the world be named after the beast from the devil? Is that a coincidence? Considering the fact that you don't get to become the largest YouTube channel in the world without permission from the Matrix.
Andrew's brother Tristan, when everything was going down and no statement had come out from MrBeast yet, he sent a message to the YouTuber saying, "This isn't beyond fixing at MrBeast. Denounce your friend's actions and axe him from the channel. Public statements." After Ava had made her initial response on X, Keemstar would have the same sentiment in that we still didn't have a statement from MrBeast and that this was a situation that couldn't be ignored. Jimmy would stay silent for the couple of days where the whole Ava Kris Tyson story was blowing up, but on July 20 24th, MrBeast had finally broken his silence and put out a post on X and said, "Over the last few days, I've become aware of the serious allegations of Ava Tyson's behavior online, and I am disgusted and opposed to such unacceptable acts. During that time, I have been focused on hiring an independent third party to conduct a thorough investigation to ensure I have all the facts. That said, I've seen enough online and taken immediate action to remove Ava from the company, my channel, and any association with MrBeast. I do not condone or support any of the inappropriate actions. I will allow the independent investigators the necessary time to conduct a comprehensive investigation and will take any further actions based on their findings." Now, this response was mostly met with good positive reactions. Lava, once again, came out and reacted to the news update here, saying, "I commend MrBeast for taking the situation seriously and hiring a third-party investigator while also taking the appropriate actions of cutting ties with Ava. While the allegations involving my name aren't true, I feel there's still a lot of other allegations that deserve to be investigated thoroughly." Now, remember when I told you to keep Ava's post in mind of where she had said that the decision of her being separated from the MrBeast brand was mutual? Well, let's bring it back here because MrBeast just outright denies that claim by saying in his own post that it was his decision to remove her from everything. So, we got two different claims there. It's up for interpretation as to who you want to believe, but it's there. Now, the story with MrBeast doesn't end there, as he is now getting attacked on another end as an ex-worker, ex-employee of his, known as Dogpack404, uploaded this massive 53-minute long exposed piece of a video that shows tons of evidence that attacks both MrBeast and his brand on 3 points. 1. Faking his videos. 2. Running illegal lotteries to his audience that includes children. And 3. Selling merch with fake autographs. Dogpack has said that this is just part 1 of his investigation against MrBeast, and with this all going on, we also have the YouTuber Rosanna Pansino currently documenting the experiences of the new upcoming Amazon show Beast Games, where MrBeast will be the host of this massive project of a game show, and Rosanna is at the forefront of showing just how irresponsible and damaging it has been to the participants so far. Regarding the things with MrBeast here though, this is way too much to just squeeze out at the end of this video, so we're just gonna leave this segment here at that. As for Ava Kris Tyson, I mean, she just has a screwed up reputation now from pretty much most of the internet. She has lost tens of thousands of followers on X, and has also gone on to delete her Snapchat as of recently. Seeing as she's been one of the latest additions into the EDP Hall of Fame, one has to wonder if she'll ever try to make a proper comeback onto the internet, similar as to how some of those content creators have tried in the past. I don't know what's going on in people's waters, man. It seems like almost every month this year, we got a new person either getting outed as being an EDP, or just simply be trying to beat the not like us allegations. It just makes you wonder as to who's next. I don't know, maybe the streamer Wantip here could help us figure that out, as these pictures here that he took with the doc and Chris when he was younger did not age so well, no pun intended. The thing that's unfortunate here is that with this Kris Tyson stuff going on for MrBeast, Jimmy now has other controversies that in my opinion he needs to also address. I'm of course talking about the stories that I briefly covered in the previous segment of this video. Will he go on to address any of that? I don't know. He'll probably pass on talking about the edgy and inappropriate comments in the past that got brought up again, but his way of going about things right now, with apparently sending cease and desist and also seemingly taking down receipts and footage from the internet, is not helping his image at all. Regarding Beast Games though, mainstream media articles covering that have started to come out now. It's pretty wild to see all this stuff go down with MrBeast and Chris, as some have referred their status in the space as being a house of cards that's just waiting to crumble down. Well, it seems like things may be running smooth now on the surface, with MrBeast's new YouTube video doing very well. All it would take for things to fall is to have more people come out and speak up against him and his content and change the public perception of the MrBeast brand. Now, bringing it back to Chris a bit, would all these things against MrBeast be as big as they are now if Chris wasn't exposed to the degree that we had seen? Who knows? But one thing is more sure now, Sunny V2's previously controversial title of why Chris will soon be a nightmare for MrBeast may have actually been somewhat correct, just in a different way than it was originally intended. But hey, at least with all this, we got another Pac-God diss track out of this whole situation with Chris. That'll be a good way to end this video.
You disappointed all your friends, family, and fans. Then you did that on your wife, you keep it playing Clash of Clans. You a creepy whether you a woman or a man. But Chris is side a priest, so last to leave, give him 100 grand.
Hope you all enjoyed the video. I'll see you in another one.